All right, everyone. Welcome, 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 welcome. This is the best hour of your week. It is Tipping Points and Puzzle Pieces. You have just heard our new intro, No More Copyright. That was produced by Quincy Blackman of he works for the Bainbridge Island Museum of Art, and he created that intro for us. So we're very pleased for that. So no longer will we have to deal with copyright, which is fantastic. So once we get that situated, it'll be a little bit cleaner. We'll probably put some graphics in there on some shows that we do, so that you can enjoy it as much as I did. And I told him that wanted it kind of in the vein of Coltrane and Miles Davis, and I think he kind of captured that. Anyhow, it is time. It's 1 p.m., so you know what time it is. It is time for Tipping Points and Puzzle Pieces. What does that mean? That means it's time for you to bring your puzzle piece to the puzzle. Whether you're a border, whether you're the center, whatever it means, you need to bring your puzzle piece together. We're excited because two of the pieces of the puzzle are always here every single Wednesday at 1 p.m. for you. Let me bring on that other piece, Mark Boatwright Frost.
Peace.
How are you doing there?
I'm doing good. Doing good. We have a presentation tomorrow, and I've been spending my time working on that this morning. We have been invited to speak at the Silverdale Rotary and present the Kitsap Resiliency Project to them. And so that is going to be a fun event, and I'm actually redoing a presentation to speak specifically to them. And it's going to be a bunch of fun. And I will put that presentation on the Resiliency Rocks podcast, and Marwan will share it to the Tipping Points and Puzzle Pieces or whatever podcast you think is appropriate for it. I don't know if it's a Tipping Points or if it's just a Kitsap Resiliency Project podcast.
I think it could go to both. So I need to record it tomorrow then.
You can. Actually, that would be awesome if you can. If not, I will have the presentation, which will be a link, or I can put it up as a YouTube video.
Okay. No, I can. I will bring the cameras and be ready to go.
Okay, awesome. Right. So
Is
yes,
we're presentation or are people invited?
I have no idea. I know that one of our other board members, Matthew Barrett, invited me to go down and present to them, and we've been waiting a couple months for it. And we will be presenting for them tomorrow. And I know what my punchline at the end is going to be after explaining all of these pieces to them and what's going on. Is I'm going to ask them, so are you guys good neighbors? And if so, let's talk.
Maybe it's the other side. If you're not, we definitely need to talk.
Yeah, there you go. Well, if you're a good neighbor, talk to me and we'll schedule some time. If you're not a good neighbor, talk to Marwan and he'll kick your butt.
Well, there's an opportunity both ways, right? It's kind of how I look at that.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the thing is that we need to bring people together, and we need to bring them together at a local level, and that's kind of what we're talking about today. And we've had a recent conversation about social contracts that was a little out of control to some degree, but was very good because we modeled the questions around it. But we live our lives with an assumption of social contracts in place. And frequently we're not very happy about them. In this case, social contracts like living under public protection, which means we have the police department and the fire department and government agencies that are protecting us. And whether they do it well or not will inform our opinions of whether the social contract is working. But we also have social contracts like our driver's license, where we sign a social contract to say we will behave in a certain manner on the road and cooperate with each other. Now, for any of us who drive downtown during the time the shipyard starts and the shipyard ends, understand that that social contract doesn't mean a whole lot sometimes. Uh, and frequently it's dangerous out there. And as most of you know, I drive for G2 on occasion. And yesterday alone, I had two motorcycles try and commit suicide in front of me, and I had a semi come head on in my lane and stop one car length away from me to back up into a construction site.
Wow.
Yeah, that was just yesterday morning.
Did the motorcycles almost hit each other?
No, I had one come flying out of the Manette area into the turnstile, and I mean flying like doing 40 coming out of Manette, not even pretending to slow down or stop or look. And
Wow.
I ended up slamming my brakes on, coming to a screeching stop to prevent hitting him as he cuts across the Manette Bridge. And the other one was on Almira and flying up from Sylvan toward Riddell. And I do mean flying, and came over that blind hill at the very beginning as I was getting ready to turn again, slamming on my brakes and stopping, allowing him to maneuver around. This is just yesterday, and I'm like going, people, this is not safe behavior for anybody. If I were a little less quick on my reaction time, it would have messed up both of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
therefore a clear violation of a social contract.
it's pretty scary out here right now. And
Yeah,
you wonder if there are litigious people looking for opportunity also just in some of their behaviors because they don't make any sense. Some of
yeah.
the actions that you see.
So what we're really going to talk about today is cooperation and competition.
Ooh.
And I wanted to start with social contracts because social contracts ability to perform correctly so that we all live together and work together requires us to cooperate. And that precludes us competing while trying to perform in a social contract. Yet, our culture tells us to cooperate from our very young days, but we are also told to compete with each other at every level through all of our entire life. And one serves us well when working together, and one serves us well if we're alone trying to survive or are in a competition in a game or anything. But competitions are also supposed to be within guidelines and rules, but they don't seem to be anymore. They seem to be more about, I want to get ahead and to hell with everybody else. So thoughts? You have a face, so I'm expecting you've got a lot of thoughts.
Because you just showing people how the sausage is made. You sent me a message in Messenger, and my Facebook has changed, and I don't understand it. So
No, yeah, I've been struggling with it all week.
I'm trying to figure it out. Um,
So but that's a perfect example.
it is.
Facebook is a social contract,
Hmm.
and yet they arbitrarily change things all the time, and then it takes us weeks to what's going on, and that's a problem.
Yeah, I can't make heads or tails of it right now. Uh,
Yeah.
so if you would email that to me, is it a graphic that you wanted me to show?
Yeah. Did I hold on a second? Let me see if I can do that. Um, oh, you're
While
talking about
Mark
the
doing
the
that, uh,
okay. So I've got three things that I sent to you recently, and none of them relate to the show. So
oh, okay. I
Yeah,
just
no,
saw
they aren't
something that
graphics for
came
the show.
through
They
now,
were they were news.
so I figured it was for the show, and I'm like,
Actually,
"What
that was a
is
week. I
this?"
sent those a week ago, and they were actually interesting things about grants and approaches to working together.
I literally just got the alert for it.
Oh, well, there you
That's why I'm
go.
trying to search for it because I'm like, "Okay, it came through, it popped on my phone, so now I'm trying to find it, and I can't find it." It says, "Mark sent you something now."
So basically, we've said this again and again and again, and I finally found the information. Our cultural framework is broken. Our social contract isn't working for us, and it's because we have this drive for competition that overrides any idea of cooperation. And I'm not saying all of us, but I'm saying in a lot of situations. As we drive on the roads, we see it all the time. We see it in corporate America. It's modeled for us through corporations. It's modeled through us through, certainly through politics. That the truth takes a second seat to the importance of winning. Transparency takes a second seat to the importance of getting your needs met. This is a competition over cooperation, and a social contract can't work in that environment.
Well, we're definitely incongruent in how we've kind of set up society as it is now, with this capitalistic model that we're under now, which clearly is broken. But if you talk to most people, either they seem to love it or they'll say, well, you know what, it's not perfect, but it's the best thing that's out there. And then you have, the camp that is like, we need to just do something totally different. Uh, I don't think that it works, especially when we're talking about basic needs, and I talk about that a lot, right? Like
Mhm.
there shouldn't be capitalism in housing and healthcare and just those basic things in food. But how do you do that where they can coexist at the same time so people can be competitive? Because there are some healthy um, outcomes from being in a competitive space, right? That's where a lot of innovation comes from, and whatnot. So there is a place for it, but I don't think there's a place for it in those basic needs. As I said, how do we separate those things out so that those basic needs are met? We can thrive in the other areas that we want to thrive in, where we're not taking advantage of each other, and we're looking at a world where you've got these, not even one percenters, and then you have, a good more than half the planet that is hungry and unhealthy and everything else.
And striving to just survive.
At
So
all, well, under the
yeah,
guise of if you just work hard enough, maybe you too can become that one
th-
percenter.
yeah, it's one of the five great lies, along with the check is in the mail, and I won't mention the other three because they're inappropriate. Um,
But we go
yeah,
for it, Mark. Why do we go for it? Why do we fall for it?
because we're told we have a constant noise machine that happens from the time we can start understanding words to the time we go toes up and are put in the ground or burned or whatever way we deal with it. We have a constant noise machine selling us the ideas, and they are in conflict with our basic education of cooperation because people and they're driven by fear. Remember, I talked the other day. I talked about Bo, bringing up Bo the fifth column again. I will bring him up. Um, had a podcast where we talked about three things that happened in the U.S. that were not noticeably connected. One was the 16-year-old black boy in Kansas who got shot by going to the wrong house. The one with the people in New York who were in rural New York, they turned around somebody's driveway and were turning around to go the other way, and the guy ran out of the house and shot and killed a 20-year-old girl. And the police in Farmington, New Mexico, who had gone to the wrong address, were just getting ready to leave when the owner of the house opened the door with a gun pointed at them.
The police?
Yeah,
Wow.
the police were leaving because they realized they were at the and the owner opened up opened up the door with a gun pointed at them. Shots were fired, and the owner and his wife were killed.
Wow.
Yeah. So, what were the things that actually tied those three events together? The constant fear mongering and the constant selling of the idea that we are in a combat zone constantly. and that we need to be armed, that we need to be, we need to watch anybody who comes to our door. Wow, what's that do for like community and neighbors and such? If what's that do to the poor Latter-day Saints boys who are coming around to ask to help you, or Jehovah's Witnesses coming to your door? God help them if they're the wrong color.
Well, I
This
had
is
three young Mormon women come to my door. Was it yesterday? Was it yesterday? Day before yesterday, and they're coming Friday for a conversation.
oh awesome. And so and congratulations, good on you. You didn't shoot them. But the point is that we fear monger, and there's a lot of people out there that are scared of every instance and overreact to it. And that is because we get messaged fear all the time. I had a long conversation. I'm going to share this with you. I had a long conversation with someone who is from DC that's part of my online group. And she works in the government in DC. And she is terrified all the time. She is looking at what's going on in South Carolina and Texas and Florida with the reproductive rights. She she sees the violence all of the time. She's looking at the debt ceiling battle that's coming to a head like now, and she's just looking at all the things. And she says, in DC, you never get a break from it. It's around you 24/7, and everybody here hates each other. There is no camaraderie. There are no people working together. There's just anger and fear.
Did you tell her she should move?
Well, she moved there from Alabama, which I guess was an upward move for her in her mind.
Maybe.
But she's like trying to deal with this, and I'm like going, well, first of all, go meet some people in Bernie Sanders' office, and I would suggest go meeting some people in AOC's office because they're probably good people, and those are probably going to be the best people you're going to meet in that area.
You know
At
what?
least from
I hear
from
what
my
you're
last
saying.
meeting.
I think there's a maybe they could do that too, but maybe they should meet some people in the Trump office, and they should meet some people in the Biden office.
Well, yeah, that too, and there might be some good people in those folks. I've not met them. The reason I made that suggestion was because when I was at last in DC, Sanders' office was the only place where I went and had meetings where I felt like a human being. Where they sat me down, they listened to what I said, we had intelligent questions, and we had a really good conversation. And I was there. I went there unannounced and ended up having a 2-hour conversation with the chief of staff.
I hear what you're saying. I think you're painting with a really broad brush.
I am.
Every Trumper and every Bidenite. I don't know what you
I
call
didn't say
Biden.
anything about them. I didn't say anything negative about them at all.
Well, we're
I
talking about the
didn't. I
left
didn't
and the right.
mention. I
Like,
didn't
go
mention
find
them
some
because,
Sanders people.
well, because the progressives tend to focus on humanity more than not. And I don't know anybody. I do. I would suggest not going to Feinstein's office because the people there made me, think about homicide. Um,
Well, that's the thing. I wouldn't consider myself a progressive.
no, okay, but you're
If I
good
was
people.
there, she could come and talk to me.
Yeah, that's true. She could, and there are probably a lot of people there. But where she works and where she lives and her environment, she hasn't met anyone. So I can only give her the stuff that I knew about and could hypothesize from the people that are engaged in it. Not saying not to go to other places. There are probably other great people in DC, but I don't know how to send her to those.
Hmm. So let's say someone was dealing with that here. What would be the advice? I call you up and I say, Mark, man, I'm here in Kitsap County. I'm in the Bremerton area, and everyone is just so dug in. Where do I go to try to find some peace and just some rational people?
Are you setting me up for a pitch here? I tell you to come down to Cups Cafe and I'll buy you a cup of coffee and let's talk.
But outside of you,
Then I'd say go talk to Stephanie over at G2.
okay, outside of Stephanie.
Um, in an organizational world, um, I don't know. There's some people on city council that I like. That I'm not. God, I try not to dig myself a hole here. But I've had some really good conversations with Jeff Conklin. I've had some good conversations with Jennifer Chamberlain. I have not met Denise Frey yet, so I can't talk about that. There have been lots of people I have. Oh, just talk to the people at Cups Cafe, for gosh sakes. They are good people. Go to the Kitsap Regional Library and talk to anybody there. They are good people. There are places you can go in Kitsap County that you will meet good people and can have a conversation.
Okay, I like that. I think it got stronger as you went on. At first, it was like,
Well,
looking pretty bleak here.
well, the thing is that the work we do is all about that. And I've met some great people, and we are literally getting ready to start the workshop 2 through 12 because we've got enough people now to do that, and we're working on finding a place for it. I would suggest they come to our Stone Soup event later in this year because it's going to be a rocking good time, and that's going to be all what it's about. It's about community, about people coming together, about let's make this a more human place to live. And so let's talk about tipping points for a minute because that's what I talked to this young lady about. Is that what you're seeing and what you're hearing is the loud, very aggressive behavior of people who are scratching to hold on to a society that benefits them enormously and nobody else. But they're losing their grip and it's slipping. And the tipping points are being reached. And I can show you how they connect. I can show you how the dots connect. You can watch tipping points and puzzle pieces, and we talk about it every week. And last week we talked about hope and the tipping points. And I did find the study. Primary study was from the University of Pennsylvania, or Penn State for those other folks that know about that. It was a decade-long study on tipping points, and they found that 25% of the people is a guarantee of a long-term social change. But one person could be a catalyst to make that change as well. 25% is an absolute guarantee. And a lot of the study referred to somewhere between 10 and 20%. And we're looking at 15 to 20%, and we can move forward from that point. But they said basically if you have 25% of the people, you have a guaranteed change.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And that's a hopeful thing. And we're seeing the tipping points being reached because we're seeing the aggressive, loud behavior of anti-humanity being shoved at us, and people are rejecting it. And as I mentioned last week that North Carolina, was it? The North Carolina legislature pushed through a bill and overrode a veto by a Republican governor when 72% of the people in the state don't want it. So can you
Mm,
imagine what the next election is going to look like?
right. 72%.
So, huh?
I said 72%.
Yeah. Do you think a lot of people are going to keep their seats when 72% of the people don't want them there?
Well, we hope not, for sure.
Yeah. Well, there's gerrymandering and all the things that have been done to keep people in places. And I'm not going to say they because it's both sides gerrymander and both sides have their issues around trying to maintain control. But again, I'm going to quote Bo. The Democratic Party is a coalition government, which makes it very hard to have a one size fits all approach to things. And the Republican Party pretty much walks in lockstep these days. And this is not me making shit up. This is just pretty much how they vote on everything, even when it's unpopular. So I always call that the lesser of two evils.
I don't think that works anymore. I think a lot of us have been operating on that, especially in the Black community. Vote blue no matter who. And I think that has done us a great disservice over the decades. Um, and so I think we need to do something different. But just to go back, one of the things, kind of picking up on the conversation with your friend in DC and going into the next part of the workshop. What I love about being part of the change and bringing your piece in is if you're feeling unhopeful and you're looking for something else, being active, not only just coming down and having a cup of coffee, but finding that thing that you can do to be that light in the world, in that restaurant, in that coffee house, in that city, in that, the yoga shop, at the nail salon,
In the
whatever that
park,
is
in the
huge.
yeah.
It's huge. And it does a lot, not only for the people that you're affecting, but it does something for you. It gives you
Mhm.
power over the situation. No, you can't solve homelessness. No, you can't solve food insecurity. No, you can't solve, all of these big macro issues that we're dealing with. But
But we
your
can.
friendliness, your acknowledgement, your humanity, as you said before,
Mhm.
of seeing someone. I speak to people all the time when I'm walking through Walmart or other places, and a lot of times it catches them off guard. They do a double take, like, "You're talking to me?" It's like, "Yeah, hey, how you doing?" It's like, "Oh, hi," and it breaks them out of that tunnel vision. Look forward, don't acknowledge anyone, danger, or don't mess with me, don't talk to me, I don't want to be bothered. And it's just, I see you, smile, hello, and as small as that seems, as you begin to do that, those things are infectious, right? We can either, as you said, fearmonger and just keep on perpetuating the fear and just letting it grow out of control, or we can do the same thing with love and kindness and empathy and sympathy, and that can be infectious and that can grow, right? And you'll see it with hey, I paid for the vehicle behind me, there's Starbucks, right? And then they want to pay for the next one. Now, eventually, that chain is going to break, but it starts something for a little bit, and it's really that simple.
Yep. And we hear it all the time. We hear pay it forward, but then we also hear, you're in this for yourself. And you watch TV shows and you watch movies, and it's all about. I mean, I'm really enjoying watching NCIS Hawaii because it's always about them having each other's backs.
Mm,
Way more than any of the NCISs have ever been, except for maybe New Orleans. It's about them working together and having each other's back, and it's very much the Ohana family thing going on. And it's so different than all of the other TV series that are out there right now, where it's one person overcoming, or the people who are all out for themselves. We tell the story that the hero always overcomes, mostly. Um, but shouldn't it be we overcome together? Isn't that what we're saying? If you talk to people in the market, if we people get together, and it's not enough just to go have coffee, but if you engage, yes, you cannot solve all these big problems, but we can.
mhm.
That's what's bringing your puzzle piece of the puzzle for. Once the puzzle starts coming together, we can make change. We can make change locally. We can create a model for other areas to make change locally, and eventually make changes nationally where they need to be made. And that's where we start making changes to capitalism that benefit the basics for people. When there's enough people doing it, the government jumps out in front and says, "Look what we did." We have to bring enough people together, and everything pushes us apart and keeps us being afraid of each other, because if we start doing that, then we make changes. And people who like it the way it is, they don't like change.
No, I was thinking it's not necessarily what we do directly, but I think it'd be pretty interesting to do a kind of a think tank, right? You've got these big organizations that pay, tens of millions of dollars to create these think tanks, and then there's lobbying and other things involved. But just having regular folks come together and seeing if they can solve an issue, whether it be local or national or even global, whatever it is, and just saying, hey, you know what, today we're going to come together, we're going to have some coffee, some pizza, and we're just going to try to tackle this issue and kind of come up with some ideas, some things that haven't been done before, and submit that forward to the powers that be if we come up with some ideas. I think that'd be a pretty cool exercise to do.
Well, actually, that's what it's built into the Kitsap Resiliency Project.
Hey,
Yeah, funny thing is that when we get the puzzle pieces together, that's exactly how it happens. Do it in the neighborhood first, then do it on a community level where representatives from the neighborhoods bring the democratically agreed upon agenda to the larger group. The larger group then starts the process of working through that until they come up with a prioritized agenda. And then you have a grassroots network that starts pushing it out and making the changes that need to happen. That's the model. That's what
Hey,
it is.
well, I like it. I look forward to seeing what types of cool things kind of come out of that.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's some things that we as an organization are suggesting are on the priority list, like food for all, power for all, the things that just get us baseline security in this time of climate crisis. And on the pending Cascadia Rising or the Ring of Fire or all of these different things, there are things we can do today that make a huge difference for those situations, and those are the things we're pushing. Making sure that we can grow food here and feed the people here, making sure that we have generate our own power and can make sure that we have at least hotspots in a crisis where we have power and the ability to maintain some sanity around things. Um, Putting together ways that we can get supplies to people if the roads are impassable. These are things we can do today, right now, and they're on our agenda, but we need people to do them.
Absolutely. And just as an update, last year we did a barbecue and my neighborhood was the first. And one of the things that kind of came of that was trying to look at different places to grow. So I am one step closer to starting my kale bed. So hopefully in the next 2 weeks, I will be able to report that out. And my intent is to not only start growing kale and maybe some Marwan proof potatoes, which should be pretty easy to do, um, but start to share that out, talk to my neighbors, see if I can teach it, each one teach one. And if they're willing, then, Rob is going to build the beds and, we'll say, okay, I can start a kill bed for you, or we could start this type of thing for you and just get them to do it and say, hey, okay, why don't you do carrots? And then I'll give you some kale and you give me some carrots. And even if it's even just a few neighbors just to start, one, it's got to be me. I've got to do it because no one else right now is doing it. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll do it. I'll model that behavior based on that conversation. I could circle back and say, remember last summer we had this barbecue? Well, I started this. So can I help you get started? You grow this. I will help you to do it. And then now we can kind of trade off. And I think that will start to catch a little bit of fire.
Absolutely. Also, you guys, I note that G2 has gotten a grant to buy necessary supplies for people, and been doing a magnificent job of that. I was just thinking as you were talking that maybe seed should be part of that.
Say what now?
Well, G2 has been buying supplies for people that are necessary supplies and such like that. I was just wondering if seeds shouldn't be part of that for people who can grow in their neighborhood.
Oh, I'd have to have Stephanie look at the parameters on that and see if that is acceptable.
It's
That is
a
an idea for
it,
sure.
yeah. Here's our think tank. This is
No, no,
where
no.
yeah,
I like that idea. I should probably save that for offline. But
yeah,
I have some thoughts on in my mind's eye, right? There are people have immediate needs. They need
yes,
a ride. They need a meal, right? But we have these sayings like teach a person to fish, right? You want to teach resiliency. And in
yes,
order to do that, you have to go beyond a ride, beyond a meal. And that would be a way to do that. So I actually do like that idea. What would that look like? Could we build beds and then, offset that cost? And then, like you said, have some starters. It could be small. We
mhm.
could go and visit once a week or
And the master gardeners might be able to help you with that.
yeah, I was gonna say this might be my ignorance on you could go once a week and check on the garden and hey, how's it going? What do you need? Okay, this is looking healthy. No, let's tweak this a little bit. Um, let's
So
put in a little bit more. fertilizer or whatever. I have no
Well,
idea what I'm doing, so I'm
well,
just talking
yeah,
out the side of my neck
that's
right
okay. But while we're talking about this, I want to go back to the Marwan proof potatoes.
now.
When we lived in Parkwood East, we had a compost heap in the back in the back of the house, and potatoes volunteered. We
Really?
had entire crops of potatoes growing in compost.
Really?
Yeah, because we take the ones that were getting a little squishy and throw them in the compost heap, and they would seed because potatoes are the seed, and they would grow, and we would have more potatoes.
Hmm.
So that's how hard potatoes are to grow. They would volunteer, and we'd have volunteer tomatoes too.
Oh, man. So when I can't grow them, I don't know what I'm going to say. "Okay, look, I tried. I really did, but these potatoes would not grow for me."
So yeah, you just have to understand that little tender loving care and the desire is a lot on the way to get there. By the way, our tomatoes just popped and they've been in the ground for like 2 weeks.
Really?
Yeah, we got some starters, and we're already getting tomatoes on them.
So are they like grape tomato size?
Yeah,
Like, okay.
yeah. Terry
How big
loves
will they
doing.
get?
Terry loves grape tomatoes. They get about 4 feet tall, and they'll produce a couple 300 tomatoes this year.
How many?
A couple 300 tomatoes over the
Really?
summer. Yeah,
Wow. Okay. You figure what, maybe 8 to 10 in a salad?
yeah. We will
So
be we
30,
will be having we will be having lots of salads with tomatoes in them this year.
yeah, so like 30 salads throughout the summer?
Yep, and our spinach just went into the pot, and we just got cilantro starts, and we have basil starts going. So we should have a lot of herbs this year, fresh herbs this year.
Oh,
I've already
interesting.
got rosemary and oregano popped up, so I can use it for cooking.
See, that's fascinating. What's a winter thing that you can grow here in this climate?
Well, actually, garlic has to start in like November, October, November timeframe to come up in spring and summer. So
Really?
we're going to be putting garlic in the ground in October, November, so that we have garlic next year. Because the garlic that grows up, the garlic that's for sale up here has no flavor.
It's also expensive.
Yeah, garlic, yeah, somewhat. And it's usually really, it's really unfortunately ugly. It's not very good. So I'm not a big fan on it. I use more granulated garlic than I would like to, but there's like varieties of garlic that I can get to grow up here, like Russian brown and German brown, which have a lot more flavor, and you can actually flavor soups with the garlic and make a really heavy garlic soup, which I can't do with any of the stuff I can buy in the stores.
Mm, interesting.
Now,
Okay.
I sound this like I'm the one doing the growing. I'm not the one doing the growing. Terry's the one doing the growing because I'm kind of like Marwan. I can do it. Actually, I've had a couple three successful gardens, but it's not my forte. It's not what I do well.
Well, you are leaps and bounds far beyond me. So I don't even have a warp drive yet.
Yeah, just a paddle in a canoe, but that works. Anyway, going back to competition and cooperation, what we have been talking about and what Marwan and I have been modeling for the last 20 minutes, 25 minutes is cooperation. It's about working together in your neighborhood to produce food, to help each other out by sharing skills that you have, about coming together and creating a dialogue within your neighborhood of your puzzle pieces to determine what you can do together to change the things that aren't working. And this is how a social contract works, except that the social contracts we have are too influenced by people who are competing and people who do not want change, who are pushing out messages of divisiveness. And we have to just ignore them and learn how to talk together, learn how to work together, learn how to have dialogues that are not competitive, are not divisive, but do have a diversity in topic and of feeling. And we have to learn how to do this in a manner that is human. We have to embrace our humanity.
Hmm. So
And
if I'm not local and I can't go to the workshop, you know, and for new viewers, because we always have new folks coming on board all the time. What do I do to start in my area? It's the first thing that I can do.
Um, hold on just a second. My screen just went black on me. Okay, there we go. It came back. I'm sitting here talking to you, and suddenly both my screens go down. I'm like, all right. So what can you do? Okay, you can watch Tipping Points and Puzzle Pieces, but I have started a new podcast series called Thoughts on the Human Future, and we talk about subjects, kind of like a mini workshop about one subject on each one. The third one is out. The first one was about perspective. Um, or actually, the first one was about tipping points and puzzle pieces. The second one was on perspective, and they are not great. I'm working on it, but it's difficult to start a new program. What did we do? Like 20 or 30 of them before we kind of got a groove on this
Mhm.
and sort of move forward. So I'm trying to do this, but talking to myself in my space is more difficult than it probably should be. On the other hand, the third one is a 17-minute discussion with Dr. Jay Silverstein, a forensic anthropologist, who described himself a long time ago as, yes, I learned how to get blood from a stone. Um, and he talks about humanity and neo-Darwinism and how what we accept, a theory we accept, is not correct and is limiting to our humanity, which is a very important thing to understand. We have the capability of being so much more than we are, but we have to get beyond our fixed beliefs in theories, which are not proof, they're just a theory, as reality. And so that was very interesting. I try and keep these podcasts to 6 to 10 minutes,
Mhm.
so that it's very poignant and there aren't any commercials thrown in the middle from YouTube. Um, and that would be a starting point. I would love to be able to podcast the workshops, but they don't work like that. Each workshop, I could do the same workshop 14 times, and actually the first one I've done about 12, and each one is radically different because it depends on the people who come to the workshops, because I'm meeting them where they are, not teaching them a package that I think they should know. Because meeting them where they are is how you engage them in the thought process to get them to work together with everybody else in the room. And so it's not really something that we can film and make worthwhile and make it work for you. But I suggest you look at those. If there's somebody who's in our area frequently that you know that you would like to engage in this process, send them to the workshops and get them engaged, because they can bring it back. We teach them to teach, so they can bring it back and teach you. If you can't be there, find somebody who's a friend of yours or somebody that wants to make a change and get them to the workshops, and we will train them how to engage your community.
And
Did that answer
I'll
the question?
offer I'll offer, I think you might feel the same way, but I won't speak for you. But if
Okay.
you are out of the area and you wanna have a conversation, reach out and, I don't mind, jumping on a Zoom for an hour and having a conversation, so we can kinda bounce some ideas back and forth on, how should I get started? What are some things I can do? Or I tried this and, this is going well, but what should I do here? What could possibly be this next step? I think Mark is nodding his head yes, that he would be willing to do that as
Mhm.
well. So
Absolutely.
the email and the website is there. And you have so many different ways that you can contact us. I don't think my contact information is on there for that. I need to update it. I don't think I can put any more on there. So I have to cut it.
Yeah,
But
he has a fold out card now, so that instead of a regular business card, you snap it and it goes down about 4 business cards and has all these things on it.
it's getting pretty bad. That is very much a true story. But
Yeah, I just want to know what Vistaprint charges you to print those.
I have stock in Vistaprint, so it helps. But Mark at roseco.org. Do visit www.roseco.org. Also, definitely on Facebook at
Mhm.
/Roseco projects. so that you can stay informed. Uh, I haven't said this in a while, but Mark really takes very great care and time of keeping the website updated with really good information and links to articles. So check that stuff out. It's current and it really is informative and helpful. It's definitely food for thought, and we'll start giving you some ideas around food for all, energy for all, water for all. So those things are really powerful. It will help you to have the language as you go into your circles and you have those conversations.
Yep.
Just consider checking those out. And as always, while we're on for the hour, ask us questions.
Mhm.
And even if you're watching this not live, because a lot of people do, put your questions in the chat and we will answer them because it's definitely important to us.
Absolutely so. And note about the website. It's pretty. It's designed so the first few pages give you the basic information you want to know, and then if you want to get more detail, you go toward the further down tabs, and it gets pretty granular, and we go into a lot of depth. But Marwan's absolutely correct. We are very much interested in having a conversation with you. None of our material is copyrighted. So basically, it's free for anybody to use anytime and any place. We are doing this here to prove the model, but the model is open for anybody to use because we need to change the world. And it's the Kitsap Resiliency Project here, but it could be, the Tucson Resiliency Project. It could be the Culpeper Resiliency Project. No matter where you are, we can help you, and we're happy to have conversations with you and support you in any way we can, because it's vitally important that we embrace our humanity and become a more human world. And the only way to do that is by learning how to talk to each other.
And there are a lot of us that are out here that are very like-minded that want to find a pathway forward together and not separate.
And make no mistake, we are reaching a tipping point. There are tipping points being reached all the time. Where our effort is to help those tipping points be reached more quickly, because right now there's a lot of changes happening that we need to address. And one of my favorite stories here.
Yeah, my wolf likes chocolate. But I
So,
haven't
and
shown
we
this off.
are, yeah, and we are, wow, I'm going to completely blank on the name of it. Guild Star rated as gold right now, which means we are completely transparent. We answer questions. We let people know. Another one of my favorite pages. If you can go back up just a little bit, Marwan,
Mhm.
a little bit to the next one with the black eyed peas. I put that one in there because people have trouble understanding the tipping points. There's a story behind this. The Black Eyed Peas did, I think, the final season of Oprah. They did the opening in Chicago, and this is downtown Chicago. There are like 8,000 people out there. And the Black Eyed Peas, without Oprah knowing about it, arranged with like somewhere between 50 and 100 dancers to go out into the crowd and work with people around them to do a dance to the
Mm.
music. And so they started the song, um, I Got a Feeling, with an Oprah twist to it, of course. And as it was going down into the first round, people in the front, like a half a dozen people to a dozen people in the front, started dancing simultaneously, doing the same moves. And then it started waving out little by little until by the end of the song, 8,000 people were moving the same way, visually showing you a tipping point.
Mm.
And it is just, it is a visual simulation of what a tipping point looks like. And I find it extraordinarily powerful.
All right, so check that out for sure. Like I said, you know, you and Tom have been holding down the show for the last several weeks, and I haven't had a chance to come in and kind of brag on the website in a while.
Oh,
So workshops, human projects, events that are coming up, what the Kitsap Resiliency Project is, community champions,
The
which
community champions is an important thing. We actually have secret shoppers that go out and talk to and go to different businesses in Kitsap County. And in October, we give out awards for being a community champion, which is a business, I mean, a for profit business, a small for profit business that has community in their DNA and go above and beyond to help people out. And we like to highlight this, and it's not like giving out 18,000 awards. We give out 10 to 12 of them a year, and they're focused on people who in Kitsap County just go the extra distance because that's who they are, and they model it for everybody else.
if you go over to the Creating a Human World, the human elements, you'll see the food for all, water for all, power for all, and connection for all.
Mm-hmm.
You can take a look at the human resources, the invitation, innovation for all, sorry,
Yep.
challenge, and then key issues identified, and then solutions, which of course I love solutions.
Yep.
So again, a lot of good stuff here. Uh, if you're looking for, just some people that are hopeful, believe that change can happen, and are interested in trying to make that change happen and figure it out, this is the place for you. And then
Yep.
I've got a cup of Kool-Aid for you, purple or red.
I'll take the Pellegrino, thanks.
Well, and as funny as that is, you and I were talking before the show started, and you were giving me a heads up on what we were talking about today, and you said, hey, when we were kids, we learned cooperation and to work together and to play together and whatnot. But as we get older, we move across this continuum of cooperation into um, being competitive, right? Uh, Collectivism versus individualism, and it's unfortunate because we have that model, and so if we could be more like babes and kind of go back to those core lessons, we could fix a lot of things practically overnight.
Yep. And we need to. I mean, we're watching dominoes cascade now,
Mm.
and that's a dangerous thing. I mean, climate change is not going to go away. And as we have just experienced 90-degree days in May, not June, July, or August, May. We had 90-degree days in February. This is not going away. We're about to hit the mark in the next 2 to 3 years that the scientists said we should never cross. The 1.5-degree change is coming, and they say we're going to hit it in 2 to 3 years. And after that point, there is no going back. Not that there's any going back now, but we don't have the will to do it. And let's talk about political movement. If you're expecting politicians to do this, unless you have a grassroots movement of size, which could happen in the model we're working, we cannot provide the will to the politicians to make this happen. And they need us to provide the will, or it's never going to happen. And that's just the way it is. And so you look ahead and take a look at, food shortages, water evaporating, water being overused. The Colorado River is a crisis in the making. We haven't figured out desalination yet. Everybody's giving out these ideas. You're on Facebook, you're on YouTube, and everybody comes up with this. Yeah, this is a solution. Has any of those solutions ever been adopted? Once ever? I'll answer the question. No, not when there's dollars to be made by not adopting them.
Yeah, there's so many things coming, even with the electrification of our transportation. I just had a presentation that I did last week at SeaTac Airport. Had no idea there were conference centers inside the airport, so that was
Yep.
pretty cool. But I had a presentation there, and talking to commerce and other high level folks that are going to basically take us into this change, which I think is too quick. And while climate change is important, there's so many other factors to consider as we make these changes and trying to bring that to their attention because they have these blind spots, right? It's like, okay,
Mhm.
we have a mandate, we need to electrify by this time, and this is what we need to do. I mean, like some of the conversation is, well, what are we going to do with all the ICE vehicles? What do they call? I can't remember the acronym, but basically gas powered vehicles. And it's like,
Mhm.
well, destroy them all is one of the thought
This
processes.
and this has been going on forever. And what do you do with the low income people that can't afford to buy a Prius or a Tesla?
Yep, exactly, exactly.
And this was the same problem they had when they did this dance about 5 years ago. It keeps coming back. We're going to solve climate change by making this and flipping the switch. And I said, well, that's nice for all of the upper middle class to rich white people that have Teslas and can drive around in $70,000 cars, but a lot of us can't. I'm driving a 2004 Mercedes that I could afford that is reliable. And if I was forced to go out and having to buy a Tesla, I would be, especially in Kitsap County, I'd be S out of luck because our public transit here is an unfortunate display of how not to do it.
Right. And there's a lot of people in this country that are automobile dependent, which is a new
Mhm.
phrase that I learned. Right. Even for us, for G2, if we were forced to take our fleet and electrify it pretty much overnight, well, I don't have a $500,000 to replace the fleet.
Yeah.
I don't. So do we go out of business? What happens to the people that need to get to their dialysis
And
and other appointments? You know,
yeah,
there's so many considerations.
and for a fleet, let's talk about that for a second. A fleet. I know that Kitsap Transit's got 100% electric buses, but I don't remember seeing any reasonable answers for the Chrysler minivans that you guys drive. I haven't seen electric minivans around that are for sale. I've seen coupes and the Teslas, the Priuses, all small vehicles. And I now hear that the trucks are being electrified, which is
Yeah.
my thinking is about damn time because trucks need traction or torque, and electric motors provide torque more than anything else. So that makes sense. But I'm not remembering, and I look at this stuff fairly frequently. I'm not remembering anything in the range of the vehicles that you need to do this. And you can't do a lot of what G2 does. We can't do a lot of what G2 does in a Prius.
Right. Right. Especially for a person that needs a wheelchair accessible vehicle.
Yeah, that's not happening in a Prius. I guess you
No.
could modify it to roll it up and into the hatch, but
Prius? It's hanging out the back. It's got a
but
pop-up tent on the back.
I guess bungee cords on the wheelchair and drive.
Yeah, no, but it really is a huge concern, right?
Yes.
You know, what is that gonna look like? We talk about power for all. So think about all of the renters that are gonna have that cost of their electric bill and their rent increase because the apartment owner that is probably, was it BlackRock or Blackwater or whoever that's buying up all this property is gonna say, "Hey, okay, we've got to put so many charging stations in this apartment complex. We're not gonna pay for it. We're gonna pass that on to the renter." Right? And we're not gonna, just as you go into an apartment complex now, hey, there's 80 units, but there's only 20 carports, which you pay a premium for. Well, they're not gonna put 80 charging stations in there. So all these things are there, right? And they're already talking about, low income people are actually gonna pay more for electricity because they have to charge their vehicles. Now you're charging it at home. You've got to have it's gonna be a mess. It's gonna be a mess and people aren't seeing it.
So we are competing for our lives and we're not cooperating to fix the problems.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Perfect statement.
So I think that's the statement to end the program.
I love it. I love it. Well, any final word? You gave it to me last week.
Yeah, I think that's it. We're competing for our lives and we're not cooperating to fix the problems that are causing the competitions. Our social contracts are broken. We need to fix them by cooperating.
And it takes us to do it. And we can.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we're 4 minutes over. But again, great conversation as always. And people are starting to come in. Our numbers actually going up as we're ending the hour. So I appreciate everyone tuning in. There is not a 3 p.m. Conversation today. I have my annual review as being a board member for the Kitsap Regional Library at 3:30, so I'll be engaged in that. Yeah, library is awesome for sure. Summer reading program starts June 1st, so stay tuned for that. But what is on our background? When is the next time you're going to be at Cups?
This is going to be Saturday at 10:30. We had to cancel last week. I thought we could make it through the Armed Forces Parade, and then I closing Warren Avenue above 11th on the way to Olympic College, and I canceled.
Yep, it was
But
crazy.
we will be there for both the Cups Cafe meet and greet and for the workshop on Saturday. And the workshop is at the Kitsap Public Library, Regional Library in Bremerton on 5th Street.
Nice. Shout out to the ML King Library downtown. All
And
right. Well, with
Lisa and
that,
Priya.
yes, there's a lot of fantastic people down there for sure.
Yep.
So, for Mark Boatwright Frost, I'm Marwan Cameron. City Council will be tonight and the Central Kitsap School Board meeting on the conduit. So tune in so you don't miss it. And we will see you next time. Sorry, I can't find our music.
Uh,
See you next time, everyone.